Hello, 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 and good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, and you know what that means. It is time for some wow. Ooh, wow, W-O-W. I thought we'd kick off in that way. I am Nancy Matthews, one of the co-founders of Women's Prosperity Network, bringing you this midweek boost of motivation, education, and inspiration to keep you inspired, moving forward, and in momentum towards your goals and your dreams. And it is a pleasure to introduce you to one of our members this morning, Bonita JOY Yoder, and some of her friends will be in the house. And I'll bring her on in just a moment. Before we do that, I wanted to share a couple of quick updates and announcements. First of all, I want to say congratulations to everyone who joined us for our Level Up workshop. We did this this past Friday and Saturday, all focused on creating that plan and outline and goals for what you want to bring into 2022. And for those of you who missed it, stay tuned, because on Monday next week, I'm going to be doing a session, a shorter, briefer session, about 90 minutes, to support you in creating that plan. So join us on Monday. I'll send you all the details on that. They'll be posted in our group here as well. Also, just wanted to let you know that as we're kicking into wrapping up this year of 2021 and heading into 2022, I do want to remind you that this is the season for kindness and love and spreading good cheer. And the best way to do that I know is by being the one for each other. And we do this during the holidays for sure. And I'm on a mission to support us in doing it all year long. So I've created something, an academy called the People Skills Academy. And this Friday, I'm hosting a free symposium where we're going to come together and all improve our people skills. And I bet this is really important as you're heading into the holiday season, seeing some family, friends, and relatives that maybe you don't see all the time, or maybe you don't see eye to eye. So if you'd like to know some ways to have more peace in this holiday season, join us on Friday, and you can go to the People Skills Academy.com to join us for the symposium and or get the replays. All right, so with that, I'm going to bring on today's guest, Bonita JOY Yoder. And the way to I say call because we did it that way for so long, but the way this session is set up is we'll go for about 30 minutes with our guest, and then we'll open up for some question and answer. So if you're here with us on Zoom, you'll be able to raise your hand to ask your question. You can place it in the chat. If you're here with us on social media, just put it in the comment feed. We are here for you to bring you some laughter. And today it's all about tickling that funny bone. How to use humor to leverage your business. And let me tell you a little bit about our guest. Bonita JOY Yoder is an attorney turned speaker, edutainer, and emcee. She is known as the Court Jester, and she delivers memorable presentations with ventriloquism, wit, and wisdom that can be adapted to suit your virtual or in-person events. So I know you're going to love this today. Make sure you reach out and book Bonita to be on your stage as well. Bonita JOY's experience includes magic and ventriloquism performances and over 25 years of law practice and real estate investing. She's a contributor to 4 collaborative books, a former syndicated magazine columnist, and the author of a forthcoming book about applying ventriloquism as a metaphor in your business and your life. She clearly believes that humor is seriously needed in the world today to lighten things up. So welcome, Bonita.
Thank you, Nancy. And of course, we're talking today about tickling our funny bone, which is especially needed in these serious times.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. So first of all, let me ask a question. How did you first begin with ventriloquism?
Oh, when I was about 5 years old, I was at a family reunion. We had talent shows, and my older cousin, Clinton Detweiler, walked up front with a wooden doll. And he put this doll on his lap, started talking to the doll, and everybody was laughing. And I'm like, what is going on? Because Woody, the name of the wooden doll, seemed so real, and yet I didn't think he was real. I was intrigued. That stayed with me. And when I was 16, I got a book from the library by Paul Winchell and spent hours in front of the mirror practicing and learned ventriloquism.
I want to hear see some. Can you bring on one of your friends?
Oh, yes. We'll see who wants to come on first.
Okay.
We'll see. Friends, I don't think there's any Quakers here. She doesn't mean that kind of friends, not Quakers. No. She means like you. Oh, hi.
Hi, what's your name?
Sammy Sills.
So, hi, Sammy Sills. It's so good to have you with us today. Can I ask Sammy some questions?
Oh, yeah, I love to talk.
I bet you do. So, Sammy, tell us about laughter and that, how do we bring laughter into our businesses? How do we lighten things up?
Oh, you got to make a choice to do it first. Yeah, that's right. It's like anything else. You set the intention to embrace humor in your business culture. That's big culture. Are we having yogurt? Not that kind of culture, Sammy. I'm going to run for president. You can't run for president. You're just a puppet. And your point is, okay, I have orange hair. Oh, Sammy, now you need more than that to run for president.
Oh my goodness. It's interesting because oftentimes here at Women's Prosperity Network, so it's me and my two sisters, Trish and Susan does not come out behind, on stage very often. And the truth of the matter is I am her puppet. We talk about it all the time.
I love that. So we know who's really pulling the strings behind WPN.
That is correct. I just, you can't even see her hands in my back, but she's pulling the strings for sure.
It's a scientific theory. It's called the string theory.
Sheldon from the Big Bang Theory would be a fan of that, right? Yes.
All right.
So let me ask a question, and this is either to Sammy or Bonita, whoever needs to respond. And I didn't know I was going to have a panel discussion today. This is fantastic. All right, so the question is, why do you want to find ways to bring humor specifically into your business?
I say funny is money. Yes, funny is money. Why do I say that? Because if you have a sense of humor, you're more likable, relatable, and people trust you more. Then they gotta like me a lot. Well, I don't know. Yeah, Sammy. And if you're interviewing for a job, you demonstrate a sense of humor, you're more likely to get hired. You're also more likely to get promoted. And before we started, one of our guests made the comment that she didn't know if you could use humor, or she was concerned about that balance of using humor in business because that's a serious thing. And I just want to tell a story that happened to me about a week ago. I'm a recovering attorney, but I did have occasion to go into the courthouse. Did they let you out of jail? Anyway, at the security entrance, they have 3 security officers. And as I was going through, I said, do we really need to spend taxpayers' money on 3 of you? And as I came out the other side, this middle-aged uniform officer looked at me and said, it takes 3 of us to corral you, Bonita. It sure does. Anyway, I laughed, right?
Yeah.
And here we are. We're at a courthouse. There's 3 uniformed officers. What more serious place can there be? So I was curious. I turned to this gentleman and I said, so I'm really interested in humor. Can you tell me how you use it in your work? If you do, obviously you do. He said, oh, well, when you're questioning people, you demonstrate a sense of humor. It breaks the ice. They relax and open up. I said, that's it. I talk about humor. That's my talk right there.
It.
And he said, they trust you more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as I was thinking about the word humor, what humor does, from what you're sharing with us today, is it connects us back to our humanity. And if you look at the origin of the word like it's all connected there. And when we're nervous or anxious or not sure about the way things are going to go, bringing some humor in does relax the whole situation.
It does. And also it helps you stand out. Some of you have probably seen the Dollar Shave TV commercials.
Love the Dollar Shave. They got me $7 a
Right.
month.
And I did some research on that. The founder of Dollar Shave had an improv background. He wrote his own script for that commercial. So they did it low cost for something like 10,000. However, have you watched the Squatty Potty commercials? Oh, yeah.
Yep, absolutely. I love those too.
And they spend up to $500,000 on one commercial. One commercial. So, and think of the Super Bowl. What do you watch? Well, I'm not really a football fan, but I like the commercials. And
I watch
funny ones.
Me too. I watch it for the commercials too. And it's all about how do they make us laugh? How do they make us feel, right?
So why would a company spend $400,000 and $500,000 on a short commercial to put out on YouTube unless it was bringing results? And a lot of their commercials are going out. Nancy, you're probably of the age where you remember Jimmy Nelson. I don't know. He was a ventriloquist. Okay, he for years did commercials for Nestle's chocolate. Nestles, Nestle's make
the very best chocolate. Yeah, I remember those.
How many years ago was that? That was in the 60s, I think.
I don't know.
And here you are,
remembering it today.
2021, remembering the words of that.
Right. So how about Oscar Mayer? Right.
Yeah, Oscar Mayer. Exactly.
Yeah.
And now, of course, Jimmy Nelson was a ventriloquist, and he had a dog named Farfel. Farfel sang the Nestle's quick song.
Oh, I do remember that. You're pulling it way back out. So here's my question. Obviously, humor in business, funny is money, and it sells. That's why they're spending all these money on ads. What if you're just not that funny? What do you do?
You mean like you? Oh, now, Sammy. You know, I believe that everybody has some sense of humor. Sometimes it's a matter of recognizing it. I mean, there was this woman who's a speaker who was telling a group of us that she had no sense of humor. Everybody in her family had a sense of humor but her. And as she was telling it, we were laughing because the way she was telling it was almost exaggerated, and it was funny. So the first thing I say is you've got to find your own sense of humor. Where do you find it? Well, you start watching how other people respond. Like during the day, if somebody starts smiling while you're talking, and what do you laugh at and what do you smile at? And it may not be a ha 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 kind of laugh, but just a inner smile. Yeah, just a little tickle, a smile. It's a matter of observing and finding out what is funny to you.
Right. So I'm curious, do you work with speakers or people delivering presentations to help them bring more funny into their talks?
Just starting to do that, Nancy.
Yeah. I think that's really valuable because, I mean, listen in, everyone, like she brings the funny in during it. So bringing that into your presentations is going to connect you more to the heart, the human in your audiences. And when you can connect to the human, then you're connecting with, providing them a service. That's where funny becomes money.
There's a woman who works in the financial arena who said to me, I'm just not funny at all. I said, well, why don't you get a jumbo bill of money at a toy store or novelty store? And then when you're talking, whether it's virtual, I think she's mostly virtual, if you could say something like, do you want to make big money? And
oh, wait, we lost you, Bonita. It went on mute for some reason. Sammy, you're being playful. Sammy, don't be
I'm
pushing
gonna
those
put him
buttons.
away. He
I,
went and turned off the button.
back in the box with you, buddy.
So yeah, this woman talks about money. I said, get a big bill, and during your virtual presentation, hold it up and say, hey, you want to make big money? Or, it depends how corny you want to be. You might say, would you like a big salary? I mean,
and it's celery.
right. So
yeah.
These are just, I'm demonstrating ways that you can use humor with sight gags as a start, because that's kind of a funny, or, it's a way where you're not up there telling a joke. And the woman at the beginning who was worried about humor in business, I know this is a common myth that sometimes people think they're going to make a big spectacle of themselves. But my assertion is that, in fact, you can stand out and be memorable, and people will remember you. In fact, there are studies that show that when people laugh, when they're listening to a speaker, that they retain the information more.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we teach the business of speaking and provide a template and a guideline for delivering presentations that have influence and impact. And one of the things we teach and I got this line from the legendary Les Brown. He says, when you're delivering a presentation, you want to have a story for every point that you're making. So the story is about connecting emotionally to your audience. And there's another quote that says, stories are data with heart, right? So you're giving the information through a story that connects to the heart of people. And he says, you want to have a story for every point and a point to every story, which brings me to, if you're going to tell a joke, inside of a talk or in an interview or in a business meeting, if you're going to tell a joke, how do you walk that fine line? Because sometimes jokes, it's about, making somebody the butt of a joke, and you got to watch that stuff. You have any insights or suggestions around that?
Well, this is Ruby.
Hi, Ruby.
If someone makes you the butt of the joke, you have to turn the other cheek.
That's what Jesus would do, right?
Yeah. The thing is, a lot of speakers get up and they start with a joke that is not relevant at all. And I almost cringe because it's almost like they read this joke in a joke book and they think they have to start with a joke, and maybe a long-haired shaggy dog story. Yeah. The thing you said about a point with every joke, that's the key. I know one professional speaker who was getting out of the taxi to go to the hotel where she was staying to speak, and her underwear fell down, and she was losing weight, right? Her underwear fell down onto the ground right there, and she had a split decision because there's the taxi guy, right? And the valet, and she just ignored it and stepped over and went on. She now tells, I know, I've seen reactions in
I know, yeah. I'm picturing it in my head with her high heels going.
And she's written a book on speaking, but she will tell that story when speaking sometimes and make the point out of it of sometimes things happen in life and you just keep going forward instead of staying stuck, right? I tell you what, I have never forgotten that underwear story. I heard it years ago. Yeah, I hope my underwear stays on today. Oh,
yeah. And it's the stories that you're going to remember. There's a gentleman, Glenn Morshower, which you probably know. You know Glenn?
I met him on a virtual thing once.
Yeah, he's an actor. He's been in shows like 9/11 and not 9/11. Amsterdam, New Amsterdam. He was in that, and many, many others. And he tells a story when he was nervous about one of his first acting gigs, and his mentor taught him to put bologna in his shoes. So
baloney.
that is baloney. And he would tell the story on stage of squish, 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 like he was walking because he had baloney in his shoes. Now, I first heard that story probably 7 years ago. All right, so here's another thing about bringing humor into it. It will make you memorable, like you said. So I don't really know Glenn. I've seen him on TV, but I heard him tell that story and it so impacted me. Here I am talking about him today. So if you want people talking about you in a positive way, get them laughing.
Yes, and really, it's not like you have to lose gray hair in your sleep or anything. It's simple. If you start tracking the stories that you can bring into your talks just by watching day-to-day life. I mean, Art Linkletter said kids say the darndest things. They sure do. Mm-hmm. If you have kids in your life, start writing down their what the funny things they say, and you can just take a notebook and write funny things that happen, and then think about how to work it into your thing. And if it happens to you personally, like the woman with the underwear, that's the best. And then the second best is if it happened to somebody you know, like me. And then the third best is if it's a story that, you know, somebody else you don't know experience, but make it yourself if you can. Yeah. Crib stories. Wow. A crib story.
A crib story?
I saw in the chat a crib story.
Right, from the crib, right? From your own crib, from your house.
Little, hey, Nancy, do you like my pigtails?
I love your pigtails. Did you do those yourself?
I did.
You have hands? I didn't know that you did.
And I got an extra hand too.
Wow, I'll give you a hand. Oh, that is so funny. I love it. I love it. So when you were talking about in the crib, thank you for that. That was fun, crib stories. Most of the time when I bring stories and laughter into my presentations, they're actually about, just like the woman with the underwear, they're actually about particular times when maybe I wasn't my brightest or my best, or I was faced with a challenging situation and had to make light of it or make the most of it. So I think there's a place for us to talk right now about how to take something that maybe you feel vulnerable about sharing and turn it into a funny story, like making light of yourself. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Oh my goodness. Self-deprecating humor is one of the funniest things. And that's actually safer to use than laughing at somebody else. But
yes,
just that underwear is one of those things of making light of. I mean, a lot of people would never, ever want to tell that on public stage, but it diffuses it and it makes it just something that people can relate to in a way. I see in the chat that happened to somebody here. And it's so the things that you're most embarrassed about in your life, maybe somebody could put in the chat an example of something that you were embarrassed about that you could see being used as a teaching point in a talk.
Yeah, I've got lots of them. So as a matter of fact, I have like many of them in my head right now, and I'm debating which one of my embarrassing moments I'm wanting to share.
Oh, come on, Nancy.
So let's go to the children's stories. So I have 3 grandchildren, and we were sitting in my living room one day, and my 6-year-old grandson, and this is going to be very revealing, so I'm going to making myself really vulnerable right now. My 6-year-old grandson starts playing with the jiggle under my arm. And I was all right. So talk about being vulnerable. I'm doing it right now. Like if you're here, you got the jiggle. Some of you, not all of you, you got the jiggle too. So my 6-year-old is playing with my arm and he's moving it around. And I look down and his 14-year-old brother says to him, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "It's funny." It was just funny to him. And the 14-year-old, so look at the age difference, 6 to 14. The 14-year-old was like, "You shouldn't do that. It's not nice. You're making fun of her." He was not making fun of me. He was just having fun. So I use, okay, talk about embarrassing, open up the space, right? So I use that story to share. It's only because the 14-year-old has now been socialized into this construct of certain beliefs of the ways things should be. The 6-year-old was just having fun. Come on, it is funny to think about it, right? So that, that's something that I could have been totally embarrassed about and say, oh, I can't show my, like I just did it again. Oh my goodness.
Uh-huh. Yeah. That's the pits. The pits. No, not the pits. It's the jiggle. Like this. Oh, she's trying to jiggle.
Oh no, giggle with a G. All right, so you just did something really powerful, and I go to the being present in the moment, and so and forgive me, I forget her name. What's her name?
Ruby. This is
Ruby. I'm so sorry, Ruby. Please forgive me.
It's okay, Trish.
No, I'm Nancy.
Oh, I forgive me. I forgot your name.
It's written right on the screen. Oy vey. So
she was just kidding back with you.
I know, I'm playing along, right? So that's about being present, being able to be responsive. So I'm sure you've taken some kind of improv classes or things like that. Like, how do you learn to get out of your head and just be present in that process? Because that's part of what makes all this work as well.
Yes, actually, Nancy, I have taken improv classes. I'm not now because of the virtual world. That doesn't work as well for me as in person. But I just have naturally, I mean, way before improv, I've always been a person who connects words and does double entendres and puns. And the puppets are a perfect outlet because they can get by with saying things. We're irreverent truth tellers. Yeah, they can say things that humans can't because we're not human, but we kind of are. I have a heart. Okay, Ruby. And so it has come naturally to me. And that, stand-up comedians usually process information pretty quickly. They have a pretty high level of being able to assimilate abstract information. And the ventriloquists I met are generally pretty smart people because they're thinking for two people, right? I mean, if you think about it.
Wow.
And so it's not that you have to be a stand-up comedian or anything like that. That's not what we're asking. It's just to be natural and find your own style. It's giving yourself permission to be funny. That's the first step. Give yourself permission.
Yeah, beautiful. I love it. And we are coming up towards the halfway mark of our show today, which means we're going to open up for question and answer. No asking me about the jiggle in my arms, though. That's the one thing I'm going to say.
One thing I do want to say, Nancy, is you've heard of the gratitude journal, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Oprah talks about write 3 things you're grateful for. I invite you to keep a humor journal because that helps rewire your brain, just like a gratitude journal. Like I share gratitudes with a group of people. We do that daily. It helps me to look for the positive. Well, if you do that with humor or find a humor buddy, it helps you look for the fun and funny in your life. And I know here in this group, there are people who believe in if your vibration is higher, you attract laughter
brings your vibration up.
Yes, because it releases endorphins and oxytocin in the brain. So it does make you feel better. When you feel better, you present yourself better out in the world and business. You make better choices. So laughing is kind of like meditating and exercising and having sex all at once. Ruby, what would you know about that? I read a lot. Okay.
Oh, that Ruby. All right. So you recommend that we have a humor journal, just jotting these things down and the stories that we can share and just funny things. And when you were talking about, it makes you relax. It makes you feel better. It raises your vibration. I want everyone listening to think about when you're in a sales environment, right? So if you're delivering a presentation, whether it's one-on-one, on Zoom, or speaking to a group, you may have noticed that point in time where you're about to ask for the money, your energy can change.
Mm.
Right? And then when your energy changes, the energy of the buyer, prospective buyer, changes as well. So being able to bring some humor to relax you will also relax the other person who may be thinking, oh, should I get this or not? Get them laughing. And now you're getting them into a higher state with the endorphins and the oxytocin.
Yes.
So this is so important. And I know that you've got a free gift for everybody, and you've got some videos they could get also. Would you describe how they could get that? And then I'll put a link in the chat for that as well.
Yes, I created a humor journal with 10 writing prompts that if you answer these questions, it will help your mind start to look for what's fun and keep it, you know, instead of the glass being half full or half empty, something that happens to you might be funny if you look at it differently.
Mm-hmm.
I have that as a gift today. It's a free gift. Then if you order that, there's also an opportunity to purchase. Well, if you have that, you'll want to have some specific actions that you can implement in your life. So I've also created a guide with some actions that you can implement into your business. And within the next week, there'll be 3 short videos coming out about using humor, embracing a humorous mindset.
Love it. Love it. So let me tell everybody where they can get that link. You go to joy.funandfunnier.com. So JOY period funandfunnier.com. JOY.
I'm gonna go get it now.
Okay, go get it now, Ruby. Go ahead. Use those fingers. Did she learn the QWERTY keyboard? And if anybody knows what that is besides me.
Right.
Yeah, I know. So
joy.funandfunnier.com. That's
beautiful. Right. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and line us up so that if you have a question, something you want to bring to the table, go ahead and unmute yourself or raise your hand if you're with us on the Zoom. And I'm giving everybody permission to be able to ask questions. And remember, no asking questions about my jiggly arms. So you can put your questions or comments in the chat. You can also put them in the feed on Facebook, and we're going through and reading those. So this is the time to ask your questions. Who's got a question or something they would like to add to the conversation today?
Nancy, while we're waiting for that, I'd just like to say that humor is also helpful in negotiation.
Let's hear more about that.
Yeah, I had a law clerk when I had a full-time law practice who told me, you should go teach a course in negotiation. I said, why? And she said, because you keep the lawyer on the other side laughing or smiling, even while you say no. Yeah. And I didn't even realize I was doing that. But there's studies that show if you have humor during negotiation, it helps you build rapport and get what you're looking for. In other words, if you say, oh, and I'll throw in my pet frog or whatever.
Right. It disarms people. It breaks them down. It's unexpected. I love it.
In fact, humor is such a serious business that there's a graduate school course giving credit at the Stanford Business School. They give credit for humor, and the authors came out with a book, and they have academic case studies and such. I'm more into the practice of it, but that's how important it is. Think about Stanford graduate school business offering credit.
Amazing. And so it's important to bring into business. Make sure you get the humor journal so that you can bring more humor into your life, into your business, because it will help you attract more clients, make you more memorable, and result in more profits for your business. Wait, we've got another guest. So hold on one second. What's your name?
Claire.
Hi, Claire. Hi, Claire. Claire, hold on one second. And I want to remind everybody, you can go get your free journal at joy.funandfunnier.com. funandfunnier.com. And then we're going to open up for Evie's in a moment. But Claire, did you have something you wanted to share?
Well, I'm having a bad hair day, but well, tell them your last name, Claire. Clairvoyant. Clairvoyant. Yeah, that means you have ESP, just like you, just like me. Extra strong perspiration. Oh,
I'm glad we're on Zoom, Claire. I don't want to be smelling that.
Don't sweat it. Don't sweat it. Now be careful what you say about me, Claire, because I have a reputation to uphold. You do, yeah. You know, I'm still a licensed lawyer. A liar? No, not a liar. A lawyer. What's the difference? Oh, Claire.
Oh, who remembers that movie with Jim Carrey, where he played the liar lawyer and he wasn't allowed to tell lies? That was a really good one. All right, Claire, hang tight. I want to give our audience an opportunity to ask questions and chime in. So first up is Evie's. Am I getting it right today?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for making me laugh. This is funny. I love it. It's a good way. And I like your name, Bonita, in Spanish. So I just have a question. So let's say that you don't consider yourself exactly be the most funnier, but if you enter to a meeting that is kind of serious, what do you suggest that you can do or say to kind of relax the environment and laugh or smile?
It depends. It depends. I mean, I don't know if you're talking about internally in a company, but you could actually create a humor environment where people had a joke master who started the meeting with a joke. I know some Toastmasters clubs do that. Or you could even do something like, you know, that was easy button. If somebody says something and you punch it and it says that was easy or whatever. Or it's got to come, it's not like a joke from a joke book, but it's more plain with what's happening in the moment.
Right, what's happening in the room and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Evie's, I'm curious, are you looking to make yourself more relaxed or the people in the room more relaxed?
Both.
Okay, I suspected it might be something you were looking for to help you relax a little bit. So
yeah, I'm not too stressed about that, but in some circumstances I may be. So yeah, both.
Yeah. So here's a suggestion I have just for you is get silly, especially if you're getting ready to deliver a presentation or you have to talk at the meeting or at the event. Before you go in, get silly with your body. Because the more you can move your body around, like flail your arms and shake and just, you know, you could do this in front of everybody, which would also help the audience unwind a little bit. But for yourself, like do something to move the energy in your body around and it'll instantly help you relax. And when you're relaxed, everybody in the room is more relaxed.
Definitely. Thank you. That's
and it might be silly. Like, so for example, I do yoga with Adrienne. So she's amazing on YouTube, right? And she has us stand and go back and forth and hit our butts. And she calls it knocking on heaven's door. And even if you just did that, like swing back and forth, flail your arms, and that'll just loosen you up too. And maybe you could, depending upon the environment, you could get everybody to stand up and do something like that. They would laugh, it would disarm them, and it would help them relax as well. So that's me, not the court jester, offering some suggestions.
That is
that's
a
great
good idea.
Yeah, in fact, when you're a speaker, if you can get people to stand up, you know, every 10, 15 minutes and do something, it helps keep them engaged and awake. And
yeah, beautiful. All right, was that helpful to you, Evie's?
No, definitely.
Okay, good. Oh, she's laughing. You're doing good, Bonita. All right, let's go ahead. And again, if you have a question or a comment you'd like to share, simply hit *6. on your phone, or you can unmute yourself and raise your hand if you're on a computer. If you're with us on online streaming, just put your question or comment in the chat and we'll bring it up. And next up is Peg Duchesne.
Good morning, Bonita. Hi, clairvoyant. Good to see you.
Hello.
And see, great to be with you.
Hi.
So I have just made my purchase as promised, and I'm so excited. It looks terrific, Bonita. And it's so important to realize that humor is the best medicine sometimes. And it's such a great diffuser of stressful situations.
Mhm. Yes.
I love the idea of keeping a humor journal, and I'm looking forward to implementing that strategy. So thank you so much for bringing this to us today.
Well, thank you, Peg. Thank you for being maybe the first purchaser. Who knows?
I don't know if I was number one, but I was in the first dozen for sure.
But that's a great point. You know, laughter is the best medicine. There's a book called The Anatomy of an Illness by Norman Cousins. He describes about how he got healed through comedy. He watched a lot of comedy movies, and there's also research. I think the Mayo Clinic even has some, but laughter can lower your blood pressure, lower your stress, help with your immune system. Who doesn't want that these days? Yeah, I think we all do.
Yes, 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 we do, we do. Awesome.
And then there's Patch Adams, the doctor who took
oh, right,
her to the
right.
hospital.
Great movie. That was a great movie.
That was
Well,
a great
thank you.
movie.
Great to be with you this morning, and such terrific tips.
Yay, we are grateful to have you with us. All right, let's go to our next caller, which is Mary Jane. Feel free to unmute yourself and we'll go ahead and bring you on live.
This is terrific, Rita. It's just super. I wanted to say, I use humor a lot. I grew up in a crazy Irish family, and humor was what got people through almost everything, probably at the wrong times as well. If there were people who didn't know us. It can be used as a kindness almost, when you can see people just, they're already stiff and they're worried and they're on the edge, and a kind, gentle poke or a little line to the side, it allows them to think about something else for a moment. And you can see them kind of get back in themselves. I used humor occasionally in my book, and I've gotten compliments on that because it makes it easier for them to read and digest. So this is fabulous. And I'm sure you, with your court experience, to sit with puppets would be enormously helpful to children and elderly who don't always know what the hell's going on and why they're in court, all that type of setting. Excellent. Thank you.
You know, my brother was a judge, and he brought his dog Roxy to the courtroom. But therapists use puppets to talk with children and help them open up so many ways.
But for an attorney, my father was an attorney, but for an attorney to show up with a puppet is absolutely disarming for the other side. I like that part. Yeah, thanks.
That reminds me, one time I had a dozen or so cases with disorderly conduct when I was a young attorney, with free speech cases. And the prosecutor, at the end of all of them, he and I staged something where he took a recess, and then he told the judge there was one more case. The judge comes back in, and I had my wooden figure, Clyde, and the prosecutor read the charges of disorderly conduct, and he makes some comments, and we had a judge with a sense of humor. He leaned over and he says, "I hereby sentence you to termites."
That is awesome, right? And think about it. I'm just curious, that particular judge, don't you think you had a closer relationship with the judge because you made him laugh and they played it together and it got people involved in the process? That's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, another demonstration why you want to bring it in. And Mary Jane, thank you so much for sharing what you said, and the fact that you put humor in your book, which was, a deep topic, some people dealing with death, right, of a spouse. Isn't that what your book
Yeah.
is about?
Yeah, well, it's about surviving the business after they're gone.
Right,
And
surviving the business of death. Isn't that the title of it?
surviving the business of dying, why
Yes.
final papers matter.
Yeah, beautiful. And so taking something that's, people tend to want to avoid or don't want to talk about, bringing humor into it gives it, makes it an easier conversation.
Well, even
And
think.
it-
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Bonita.
No, go ahead, Mary Jane.
I was just, for instance, you're at the reception after the whatever
Service,
ceremony that
yeah.
you had, and it occurred to me, because you're running on adrenaline, you have to be nice, and anyhow, 3 different women of 3 different walks of life, 3 ages. I don't think they knew each other. Each one came to me and said, "Now you can put the furniture wherever you want." I was like, what is with the furniture? So that's a keeper,
Definitely.
That reminds me of funerals. Often there's a funny story or funny stories shared about the person at the
Absolutely.
funeral. And fun is in funeral, F-U-N, the first 3 letters. At my Judge brother's funeral, when I gave a eulogy, everybody knew about Roxy, his dog. He took Roxy everywhere. And I told a story when I was in his office looking for his will. I opened a drawer and I pulled up a bag of dog food. Open another drawer and I got a bag of dog food, and that was funny because it was related to his dog. And I think humor is very appropriate at funerals. It helps us celebrate.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Mary Jane, for being with us. Awesome. And let's go ahead and I want to remind you once again, you can go to joy.funandfunnier.com and get your humor journal to bring more humor into your life. And Auralia, I am so glad that you raised your hand because you had some good stuff going on in the chat. Welcome, Auralia.
Thank you. Good morning. You know something, as I look at your face, Bonita, you have, and there is a branch of science that determines what your personality is to some degree, somewhat very accurate, according to your face. You have your eyes spaced apart, your face is round, and every time I see you, I do feel joy.
Yes.
So thank you for that. Thank you for your presence, and thank you for being on this planet at this time. One of the things I'd like to share is that I have had a lot of tragedies, and in the midst of those tragedies, there has always been something funny. And when I share those stories with some of the people, which I don't do that often because that is known as trauma bonding. And I realize that I've been doing that. By the same token, when I share them, sometimes I can't help but to laugh because the shit that has happened to me is just funny. And when we are able to receive that and look at that and laugh, it expands our horizon and our point of view about it. So we're more an allowance. And I will tell you, I know that the divine of my understanding, which is the goddess, has a freaking blast with me because some of the stuff that happens is just above and beyond. So I'd like to share something kind of funny. As a health coach, you were talking about squatty potty. So I decided to get one about 2 or 3 months ago, and I was constipated for a few days and couldn't use it.
Yes, the universe has a sense of humor, right? We plan and God laughs, right?
Did everything come out all right?
Yeah, in the end, yes.
In the end, get it?
Yeah.
It was just a little bit later. But anyway, squatty potty is working fine and body is working divinely. And I think that with the current situation that we see in society, we are taught that everything is offensive. And yes, I understand that some things are offensive, and we can take a look at that, and we can still laugh if we follow Don Miguel Ruiz's advice, which is not to take anything personal, and you just laugh. Think about what that does to the situation as well. It diffuses it, and the other person realizes that they don't have control over you, and you are in control, which is what we are all thinking.
Well, that's so good, Aurelia. And the point that I one of the points I pulled out of that is what we talked about earlier, to bring in humor. Don't make someone else the butt of your joke, because you can hurt someone's feelings. You don't know what their perspective is, but when you make yourself, when it's your own butt that you're making fun of, or your own arm jiggle for that matter, right? When you do that, you can't hurt someone else's feelings.
Yeah, when you make your own butt the point of the joke on the squatty potty, not being able to use it. Yeah.
And then everything will come out okay in the end.
And it usually does. So that's what I wanted. So that's what I would like to invite people to, is to laugh, to have fun. You know, I follow Access Consciousness, which is a wonderful modality, and I incorporate that in my daily life. And I had a session with someone and incorporated some of those tools, and she received so much, and I received. And one of the things that Gary Douglas from Access teaches is, what if the purpose of life were to have fun? To take all of the seriousness away from life and the drudgery and the misery and the pain and everything else that we see. What if it were just to have fun?
What if the hokey pokey was what it's all about?
Yeah,
You do the hokey pokey and you turn yourself around, like just turn yourself around, right? It's beautiful. Thank you, Aurelia, for being with us and bringing light, love, and laughter, and your squatty potty to the Wow Wednesday. I think it's the first time we've had a squatty potty on.
One good turn deserves another.
That's right. I love it.
I gotta go get my squatty potty.
Okay, bye. See you later. Oh, so funny. All right, my friend Bonita, let's go ahead and wrap up today. Let me just remind everyone, go to joy.fun and funnier.com. Get your humor journal and bring more humor into every area of your life.
More humor.
More.
And remember, humor, I call it a gateway drug to joy. Because really, and joy is my middle name, but really joy is the inner state of being that humor will help you experience.
Love it.
Yeah. You're feeling joyful when you're laughing. You're not worrying about whatever, pay the bills or whatever.
Beautiful. All right. Well, Bonita, thank you, Bonita Joy. Thank you for being with us today and bringing us so much laughter, bringing your friends. We had Sammy, Ruby, and Claire all in the house with us today. It was a complete menagerie of your friends.
Yes. And you want to have a little soul in your life, and that's what humor helps you do.
Have those props handy. Loving it, loving it. All right, my friends, be sure you get your free humor journal from Bonita. We'll be back next week with another Wow Wednesday. And until then, get out there, have some laughs. Don't take things so seriously. Have some fun. Bye, Bonita. Bye, everyone. See you next week.
Bye. Bye.